Bristol is back. Yo, what's good, everyone? My name is Jed. Welcome back to an episode of MDK Racing Victor Stop. It's a bit later. We're doing this a day later. Do apologize for that, but we're here to recap everything that took place for NASCAR in Bristol. I almost said Brazil. In Bristol, because holy hell, what a race that was. We saw the most amount of cautions so far in a single NASCAR Cup race, most amount of lead changes since what happened at Bristol back in the spring of 2024. Absolute madness, but it all capped off on a restart. I think it was like a 4 or 5 lap shootout to the restart that happened when Cole Custer, out on fresh tires, just got back on pit road, comes up, hits Bubba Wallace, sends Bubba Wallace into the wall. That brought out a caution, which set up a short shootout to the finish. You had Zane Smith on the inside. On the outside, you had Carson Hocevar, both drivers looking for their first Cup Series wins. But it was Christopher Bell in the third lane on the inside lane, just enters into turn number 1. Don't think he really made big contact, but got those two moving up the hill. Bell swoops by on the inside, take a 3 wide to take the lead. Brad Keselowski was on his tail, was closing in, and gave a shot to Christopher Bell, but it looked like he almost helped him. I mean, that's kind of a bit worrying with this next gen car because Keselowski sent it in turns 3 and 4, and it just looked like he gave Bell like another 10 miles an hour of speed. I mean, it didn't do anything, which is a bit worrisome with the next gen car, because the next gen car, we saw a lot of drivers give the bumper, but you had to hit them so hard to get them even a little bit squirrely. But it capped off with Christopher Bell going back to victory lane for the first time since, I want to say, back in Phoenix when he won 3 in a row. It's his 4th win of the season, and it's a JGR sweep. Chase Briscoe won at Darlington, Hamlin last Sunday at Gateway, and now last night, Christopher Bell. Now let's take a look at the race results over to the right of me. So Christopher Bell wins. Second is Brad Keselowski. Third is Zane Smith, with the Penske drivers of Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano. Ryan Blaney, I had him to win this race. Also had to come back and forth up through the field. Joey Logano, which I thought he was cooked because he was on his last set of sticker tires with 100 laps to go. And these tires were fleeting. They were dropping off like flies. Like, I'm talking maybe 30 laps into run, and boom, it was like a switch. Almost exactly like what we saw in the spring of 2024. A switch, bam, tires are gone. So the fact that he was able to get 5th place, amazing job. Looking 6th, Corey Heim. Who had Corey Heim? Heim time in that 67 ride. Who had him in 6th? Nobody had him even in the top 10. I don't know how he got up there because he started near the back. I don't know how he got up to the front, how he was able to get ahead on strategy, but what an excellent run for him in a 6th place finish. 7th is Carson Hocevar. Again, he was close, but so far he had a great car, was up front, led some laps, very challenging up front, but that shootout, he went from the front right to the back like that. 8th is Alex Bowman. Bowman had one hell of a day. He spun out early in the race, was back in the back of the pack, drove his way up to the front. There was a massive controversy, or I shouldn't say controversy, but there was a massive little battle between him and Austin Cindric when Austin Cindric was on fire near the ending of the race, and Bowman all of a sudden went from there's no way in hell he's going to make it to now he's maybe 4 or 5 points from making it. He needed to win the race, but he was oh so close. Eventually, Austin Cindric got back on the racetrack. He was able to finish the race, so that kind of sealed the deal for Bowman, unless he did win the race. But Bowman put up a very excellent effort. Unfortunately, it was not enough. He will not advance to the round of 12. Chase Briscoe in 9th, solid run for him up front. He did lead some laps early on. And Ty Gibbs had the best car, I felt like, led the most laps. I thought he was going to win that race, but then a very, very costly mistake in that final scheduled round of green flag pit stops. Drove it in way too hard, nearly ran into the back of Chase Briscoe, cooked the right front tire, blew it out. He then had to make a very slow drive around the racetrack one more time before getting back on the pit road. So his race was done, but the fact that he rebounded for 10th place, that's not too bad by any means, but I know he's very frustrated because he did have one of, if not the best car today. And Chris Buescher, also in 11th, had a really good car today, was up front for a few amount of times in this race. William Byron, a quiet 12th place run for him, even though he did get some contact, did have some bit of issues earlier in this race. Justin Haley, Johnny Nemechek, and Tyler Reddick round out the top 15. Kyle Busch in 16th, Michael McDowell, rookie Riley Herbst in 18th. I found that it was a bit interesting. I think I read somewhere that Corey Heim has more top 15 finishes, I believe, than Riley Herbst, which Yeah. Anyways, that's wild to say. 19th is Ross Chastain and Eric Jones rounds up the top 30. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he spun after he got wrecked by Bubba Wallace earlier in this race. He finishes in 22nd. 23rd, Noah Gragson, his teammate, Todd Gillen right behind him, and Austin Hill rounds up the top 25. Shane Van Gisbergen, he spun a couple times, did not have a good race today. The Dillon brothers, Ty Dillon was a missile. Austin Dillon was nowhere to be found, 27th and 28th. Cody Ware, 29th, and Austin Cindric, despite that fire, he did what he needed to do in terms of pace. Didn't need to be spectacular, but did what he needed to do. Unfortunately, that fire, and there were multiple fires. I want to say Cole Custer caught on fire. Austin Cindric caught on fire. I think Chris Buescher was on fire for a little bit. I mean, there were multiple cars, and that's because all the rubber buildup got into the rocker panel, and it was just cooking the cars up. We saw fire every 2 or 3 minutes. The cameras would just cut to another fire on pit road, another car on fire, another car on fire. I mean, it was the last 100 laps was pure chaos. You could not take your eyes off the screen one bit. Then the final remaining drivers. I mean, look at all these drivers outside, these playoff drivers outside the top 20. I mean, it's absolutely shocking. Denny Hamlin had a tire go down, got caught up in a crash. Kyle Larson, I don't know if he got hit from Ricky Stenhouse Jr. or he just lost it in one of the corners, but slides up and just slams Daniel Suarez, takes him out. He had a broken toe link, I should say, and spun on his way coming onto pit road. And then you see Daniel Suarez also in 37th as a result of being involved in that crash with Kyle Larson. Cole Custer, 33rd, Bubba Wallace, 34th, when he was caught up in that crash with Cole Custer that set up that 7 or so lap shootout to the finish. AJ Allmendinger, 36th. He was the first, I believe, to have a tire go down and just never really recovered. I mean, he started out great, but quickly fell to the back, nowhere to be found. Chase Elliott, 38th in position for Chase Elliott. He was in dire position. He nearly missed the playoffs because he got caught up in a crash. He tried to cut in line right in front of John Nemechek, and Nemechek had too much momentum, hits the 9. The 9 goes hard into the outside wall, was done for the day, and we still had about half of the race still left to go. He was maybe 5-6 points above the cut line. I mean, it was getting real squirrely for Chase Elliott in that 19, but the one thing that they did not need was a new winner. They didn't get that. And eventually Alex Bowman did lose some positions because he was up to as high as, I believe, 2nd place in that final 100 or so lap run to the finish. But eventually, like I said, fell back to around 7th, 8th place. But luckily, Elliott was able to survive despite his issues. And Josh Berry. Josh Berry was another driver that caught on fire. Last place again. 3 playoff races, 3 last place finishes for Josh Berry. I mean, you literally cannot get worse than that. I mean, wrecked on lap 1, wrecked at Gateway, caught on fire at Bristol. I mean, man, I do want to say welcome to the playoffs, but he didn't even make it to the door. The door, he kept running his head into the door. He didn't even make it in the classroom. He was door, all right, back to the principal's office or back to the care center. Never even made it to the finish. I mean, rough, just absolutely rough, brutal for Josh Berry. And now let's take a look at the playoff grid, the round of 12 as we enter New Hampshire next Sunday. So Denny Hamlin, 26 points above the cut line. Larson and Byron at plus 24. Bell at plus 20. Then we got Ryan Blaney, 19. Chase Briscoe at plus 10. Chase Elliott at 5. Bubba Wallace only now 1 point above the cut line. He had a tremendous round of 16, but now he's kind of back to square one. Just 1 point ahead of Austin Cindric. Ross Chastain tied with Joe Logano at -2. Tyler Reddick, with his lack of playoff points, he enters last, -3. Yeah, the racing was wild, bit excessive. Again, you can almost do a carbon copy of what we saw in 2024. Just absolute chaos. Goodyear had to give the teams another extra set of tires because they were just cording so much so rapidly. They had to keep up in some way, shape, or form. But man, it was very fun, very exciting, very wild, very chaotic, very goofy, very whatever you want to call it, but it was fun. I mean, and we saw drivers ride that bottom lane. You know, it was like that old Bristol, just hug the bottom, hug the bottom. So you did see drivers when they were on brand new tires just fly on the top lane, but you had to be careful because those tires had a very, very short shelf life. But it was, like I said, specifically that last 100 laps, you could not take your eyes off the screen because something was always happening. And that is the best type of racing. When you cannot take your eyes off the screen because you have no idea what is happening, something is going on at every moment. But yeah, we talked about those 4 playoff drivers that were eliminated. SVG, not surprising. Neither was Josh Berry. There were no way they were going to win. Neither was Austin Dillon. Alex Bowman was the only driver that maybe, depending on how with Austin Cindric. Joe Logano looked as though for a little bit he was kind of not safe or not certain, but somehow he was just able to claw his way back up to the front, was kind of in the darkness, in the clouds for a while, and then somehow he's back up in the end, does what he needs to do, and be able to get a solid finish to safely lock himself into the round of 12. So yeah, it was fun to see that you really could not tell who was going to win this race right up until the final end, because I thought maybe Ty Gibbs, then maybe, Carson Hocevar. What about this guy? What about that guy? What about, what about Zane Smith? For a while, it looked like Zane Smith could be in the catbird seat. Brad Keselowski, you did not know who's going to win right up until the last second. I feel for Brad Keselowski because once again, he came so close. Still wasn't able to tase the victory lane. Very, very close effort for the driver of the 6th car. Where do we go from here? Because, don't get me wrong, this race was amazing. A lot of fun to watch. We still have not solved the issue, I think, because last night, I believe, was around similar temperatures compared to the spring of 2024. I could be wrong, but it was around the same form of temperatures. It's still very extremely temperature sensitive, right? We saw at the spring in this year in 2025, Saturday during practice and qualifying, dip a little bit cooler in temperatures. Tires could not, last a day if their life depended on it. Then Sunday ride, bit warmer, tires could last for about a week, it seemed. Same thing here this weekend. Friday, tires didn't do anything. Saturday, cooler temperatures, all of a sudden, it's like a switch, right? We still have not solved the issue with tires. It's still an issue because we cannot rely on the weather. All right. No, again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. This race was awesome, fun to watch, but we still haven't solved it because we're still relying on an external factor, and that's the weather. The weather determines whether or not we get a good race. And you should not be relying on weather on whether or not if the tires are going to last. Like, we didn't have that issue in the previous gens of cars. It didn't matter if it was 50 degrees or 80 degrees, tires still wore. That's not the case in today's NASCAR. With this next gen car, compared to what we saw in the Xfinity race on Friday night, very fun to watch. Regardless, tires matter. Like, they progress at a normal rate. Tire wear. Here, again, it was very excessive, like a switch, because of cool temperatures. Who's to say in 2026, when we go back to Bristol in the spring, if we get warm temperatures, we're now right back to where we started. Whereas, now we need a softer tire. It was great, but I think we should not lose sight that there is still an issue that we need to solve, right? We still have a next-gen short track problem. Goodyear did their best. They improved, but we're still relying on an external factor. And we need to get to a point in time when next-gen racing, specifically on the short tracks, where it doesn't matter the temperature, it doesn't matter the horsepower, it doesn't matter, right? Whatever tire you bring on there, it will wear. And we still have not figured that out. We're still relying on external factors to determine whether or not a tire is going to be successful or not. And that is something you can't be confident in. Who knows what happens in Martinsville? No, it won't be. It'll be November, late October. It will be November in Martinsville, Virginia. It will be cold. But when we go back to Bristol next year, depending on the temperature, we could be back to what we saw in the spring of this year, whereas tires last the whole entire race. You don't got to do a damn thing about it. You can just chill. And that, I don't think, is a way that we need to go about it. We still need some work to do. But if I were to give a rating on this race, 1 to 10, this is like 8, 9 out of 10. A lot of fun to watch. Absolutely so much fun to watch. Best Bristol race I've seen in a very long time. So kudos to Goodyear, but we still got some work to do. But what are your thoughts on this race? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, my name is Jet from MDK. Thanks for watching.